Rapunzel tower. You play with Rapunzel. Well, you can see her hair glow in the dark. Do you see the light go on? And then she has like a friend named Pascal who hides in the fireplace. He's a chameleon. Yeah, this is her kitchen. She has 2 cups hanging on the rack, and then 2 plates on her table, and a stove.
She started to reject the toys that she had, trains and cars and things like that. She wanted to get little dolls and proper tea sets, things like that. Plastic princess shoes that she could wear.
I always like to play with dolls. I do have a Rapunzel wig. It's in the closet.
It wasn't till about 4 years old, we were talking about God, and she said, I don't think God is so great because God made a mistake when he made me. And shortly thereafter, she talked about cutting off her penis, and that concerned me a lot.
I never felt feminine. I knew it was wrong to say anything about it. They wouldn't understand. What do you mean you're female? You were born female. My name is Alex, and this was me 5 years ago. I'm a much happier guy now.
The scientific research is minimal, but we know that the brains of people who are transgender are more like the brains of the sex to which they aspire than their birth-assigned sex.
I was the first girl to take woodshop in my junior high school. I was the first girl to climb the ropes in the boys' gym. I was the first girl on the high school ski team, and I was the first so-called woman construction cable splicer for Pacific Northwest Bell, not only because I enjoyed doing those things, but I also felt that people needed to know that female bodies could do these things.
It happened to Lieutenant Commander Christopher McGinn.
When I did come out, everybody was shocked, even my mother, because I just wasn't an effeminate guy. You know,
a lot of people want to know. They want to know, did you play with dolls or did you play with trucks? Well, actually, I played with both.
I remember I got into my grandmother's makeup, and the first time it was not a big deal. You know, boys don't play with makeup. You know, but I remember that was an issue at that time because I remember doing it a few times and finally getting a spanking for it. So that was really the first hard lesson that that's not okay.
There was always what could cause this, or why am I this way? Why am I different?
I spent my teenage years and my 20s trying to find out, trying to have somebody or something that I identified with that felt the way I did, and I really didn't find any. I remember I was dating a girl in 11th grade, and she says, "You have really pretty eyes. Let me put some mascara on you." And inside I was like, yes. Because for that second, I could be sort of who I felt I was, you know, and so she did. And she said, "Wow, you have really pretty eyes." And that made me feel so good. And really all that was is somebody paying Christine a compliment, really. And having gone through life for so long, and Christine, this who is me, you know, just not being recognized, I think it just felt so good. But then I got very uncomfortable about it because I think I didn't want to show that I enjoyed it too much. And then I think I got very embarrassed.
In college, being in a fraternity is such an immersion in what I call guy culture. You know, how many women do you know that have a chance to live in a fraternity for 4 years? You know, that's how I look at it. So that's where I met my first wife, was in college. Well, after college, I went to medical school, and within the first year of medical school, I was married. And within a year of that marriage, we were getting divorced. Looking back at the whole situation, I don't blame her one bit, you know, because she probably could tell that I wasn't a guy, you know, and it's exactly right. I wasn't man enough for what she wanted.
But I know that I felt as if there was something wrong with me, because my whole life people were saying, there's something wrong with you. You're not allowed to wear your grandmother's makeup. You know, you can't play jump rope. So when things ended, the first thing I thought was, you know, there's something wrong with you. That's why she left.
He was an athlete, a rock and roller.
Ensign Christopher McGinn, Medical Corps, with honors, military, and physical fitness distinction.
An officer in the U.S. Navy. A husband. He was a flight surgeon, selected by NASA to serve on 2 space missions. But upon his discharge from the armed forces, Chris McGinn would set out upon a different mission, from which he was never to return.
A lot of fear, you know, it was Pandora's box. On the one hand, I finally felt as if I knew the reason why I felt those feelings about my gender, but on the other hand, there was a lot of fallout that was going to happen from it.
She was in some terrible pain in her life.
More importantly, you know, I was married, and I would have to discuss this with my wife at the time.
Her wife found her hormones and said she wanted a divorce.
And it probably wasn't going to be a good discussion.
I think he began to realize that he had to do this.
I saw that other people were feeling exactly how I was feeling, and that, you know, you could be transgender and still be attracted to women, which was how I felt, and I slowly started educating myself and learned that gender and sexual orientation are different entities, and they are related in some facets of life, but for the most part they're different things.
I think he first came to me dressed as a woman about not very far into the therapy, maybe 6 or 8 weeks into the therapy, which wasn't easy because she was moonlighting at the hospital and working on the naval base, I think, still at that time.
I had my name changed right before I was discharged. So on the last day of my active duty, I notified the commanding officer that my name had been changed, and so to legally discharge me, they had to have Christine McGinn on the discharge papers.
He froze his sperm and began a process known as transition. First, living as a woman.
I think the more that she did that, the more that she could see her future.
We've been following Chris McGinn in the weeks leading up to the day that he becomes Christine, both in mind and body.
Then, surgery.
The first part of the operation will be the augmentation mammoplasty, where we augment the breast and make the chest look more feminine. And then we'll change and do the bottom part.
One of the risks of surgery, it's a very bloody surgery, and I bled a lot. And I started bleeding in the middle of the night after the surgery when the hospital was pretty quiet. I actually almost died. So it was really a rebirth, for sure.
The kids were to line up for something, and there was a boys' line and a girls' line, and Dannon went to the girls' line. And the teacher said, "No, Dannon, you have to be in the boys' line. You're a boy, and you know that."
And I didn't have much friends, and people were mean to me.
Her kindergarten teacher, she said, "This has to stop, the princess backpacks and lunch boxes and things like that."
They would tease me, they would call me names.
Telling people that she's a girl.
She's also wearing lipstick.
Cuckoo head, they called me once.
We couldn't figure out what we had done to cause this or what somebody else had done to cause it.
So, Bill and I decided, okay, we're going to take a different approach. We're going to make a stance. Okay, at home you can do whatever you want, but you're not going to dress like a girl outside of the house.
A boy wears lame clothes and a girl wears good clothes. Ooh, look at a pirate dress.
It was around Halloween of last year. She wanted this huge dress, Southern Belle, with frilly skirt and everything. And I told her no. I said no. You can be a witch, you can be your vampire princess or whatever, but you cannot. This is just too much. She threw an absolute fit in the store, and I had to pick her up. She was biting me, she was kicking me, screaming. I had never seen her like this. I was terrified. I thought, oh my God, we're gonna have to, check her in a mental institution or something. I didn't understand. And I thought, well, she's just a horribly spoiled child or she's mentally ill.
I thought that buying her the toys, the dolls, and things like that might encourage this, what I thought was behavior.
When we got home, she got out of the car and screaming, I don't want to live anymore. We lived on a busy street and ran into traffic.
No, I don't want to ever be a boy again.
She also at that time was starting to construct nooses and wanted, put them around her neck and say, I want to die. We started to realize this is not just a child who's gay. My gay friends said, well, I dabbled, I tried on my mom's nylons, but, I still thought like a boy. I still was a boy and was aware of being a boy. Denon had started to identify herself as a girl. And if you called her a boy, she would get very angry. And she, was inflicting, wounds on herself. She would throw herself against the wall. She would attack people physically. I mean, it was very disconcerting. And I really had thought, oh my God, we're going to have to commit her.
Running away, death, drugs, suicide. That was not something I wanted to think about her doing. And I wasn't going to let that happen.
I was thinking of growing up with my little brother by my side. And I just want that, but I guess it's not gonna happen. When was the last time we had a picnic?
I don't know, I'm trying to think. We need to have more picnics.
A little bit, I
think so. Okay, this is mine. Here's yours.
Where's mine?
Okay, whoa. Daddy's got all the chips and stuff. All right, well, this is nice. That was a big bite.
It's really good.
Good. I remember watching one evening with my husband, there was a program on television that featured a transgender child, and immediately I realized that's my child. We knew, okay, this is what our child is. We understand now.
I realized then that all the acting out, all the anger, was pain that she was feeling. She couldn't articulate what was bothering her, so the only thing she knew was to act out.
I had never heard that word before, and I had lots of gay and lesbian friends and, bisexual friends, and had known about transsexuals, but I'd never heard the term transgender.
This is something she was born with, and that this was not a choice she made. No more than it is a choice that someone who is gay makes that choice to be, or that somebody is a certain color.
But clearly she already knew who she was. It's just we were taking a long time to catch up.
My mom told me about transgender, and there were a lot of people who were transgender before me. A lot of people.
I have a little girl that needs to be a little girl.
It means that, well, you were born a girl, but you wanted to be a boy. And so you were a boy with a vagina. And then also it also means you were born a boy and you feel like you're a girl. It's okay to be different.